so I am familiar with it, and I don't know if it's that widely known, but I think it's kind of, it's out there, people know about it, so I really wanted to cover this as well because I've read that Liz's parents and her family members actually really want people to cover this case. They want the information about her and her case out there because, like I said, it's still unsolved, and this happened in 2019. So yeah, I'm just going to get into the case. So Elizabeth Barraza was born in 1989 in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, to parents Bob and Rosemary, and her family moved to Texas, which is where she was raised and where she lived the majority of her life. She was kind of a self-proclaimed geek, I guess. She was really into Star Wars and Harry Potter, and she also loved to do cosplay, and she began making her own costumes at one point, which she was really passionate about. I don't know anything about Comic-Con, the cosplay world. I'm not into that stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you are. I'm just saying I don't really know a lot about this stuff, but I know a lot of people really resonated with her and her love for like sci-fi things and Harry Potter and Star Wars and all that. So she was very passionate about those things and going to Comic-Con and doing cosplay. She would often go to Comic-Cons, like I said, and she actually met her future husband, Sergio Barraza, at one of these events. They instantly bonded over their love of, sci-fi related things and Comic-Con, cosplay, all the stuff I mentioned before. Sergio was super into all of that as well, and they just hit it off, and eventually they began dating. And then hold on, I have to go up on my notes. They were married eventually in 2014, and they also adopted a little dachshund that was absolutely adorable. I love dachshunds, and his name was Diesel. They purchased a home in Tomball, Texas in 2016, and this was like a dream come true, according to Liz and Sergio's friends. Like, they just had a really great relationship, and they were both really excited about living together, and it just seemed like their lives were going in a really great direction. And apparently they were also a part of a group called the 501st Legion, which obviously I don't know what that is. I mean, not obviously some people do, but I did not know what this was. And this is a group of Star Wars enthusiasts who dress up as iconic villains from the movies, and they also make it a big part of their group to spread kindness and give back to the community in some way. So Liz would actually go to the hospital and visit sick children as Star Wars characters. She would dress up and visit them, so she just seemed like she was literally the sweetest person ever. And that just makes, hearing the backstory about someone's life just makes these cases all the more heartbreaking, because she seemed like a genuinely good-hearted person. And so Liz and Sergio were actually planning to take a trip to Orlando, Florida to visit the Universal Studios because they have the Harry Potter world there, and obviously they both love it, so they were gonna take a trip there to celebrate their anniversary. And this was in January that they decided on this trip, and Liz was, I don't remember actually when they were actually going to leave for the trip. I'll put it up here if I find it, but their planning began in January, like towards the end of January, and Liz kind of spur of the moment decided that she was going to put on a garage sale that was going to start on Friday, January 25th, and then go until social media, and she didn't put up signs, which is important because essentially only her friends and family supposedly knew that this garage sale was going to happen. So, and I don't know for sure if she posted it anywhere on social media, but it just seems like it was kind of a low-key type of thing. And so, early the morning of the garage sale, the 25th, at 2 a.m., a black Nissan Frontier drove by the home of Liz and Sergio, and the car was spotted again at 6:47 a.m. at a school nearby and then on a nearby street. Liz went to Starbucks to get coffee the morning of the sale, and she returned home at about 6 a.m. and then she began setting up, and Sergio left for work at about 6:48 a.m. and security cameras show that the black Nissan driving by the Barraza home so the security camera again shows the same Nissan driving by at 6:51 a.m., which was only 3 minutes after Sergio left. The truck either did a 3-point turn or made a U-turn and parked behind Liz's car on the street. 1 minute later, someone stepped out of the car and approached Liz, and the person was dressed in what looked to be a white cloak or robe, and it looked like they had long hair, and also they looked to be pretty short because Liz was only 5'2", and this person looked like they were shorter than her, so they were pretty short. And you can hear on the security camera, you can hear Liz say good morning, and that's really the only thing that I can clearly hear her say. There's been speculation about what else was said, but I can only personally hear the good morning part. So she says good morning, and the way that she says it, it doesn't sound like she knows this person. She's just kind of friendly, being friendly and saying like good morning, you know. She's not like, oh hi, how are you, so and so. Like, it doesn't seem like she knows this person. And so after she says that, the person kind of gets closer to her, and then there's more words exchanged, and there's actually a video that this guy made on YouTube that I will link in the description, but he speculates that this person is asking about a stormtrooper mask or something, like a stormtrooper head, and they're asking if Liz would take $100 for it, and then they say, you know what, it's not worth it, and then they do this thing that they're about to do. But I feel like, I know there's a phenomenon where if you tell someone that something is being said beforehand, then you immediately hear that, you know what I mean? So I don't know if I couldn't personally make that out, so it hasn't been proven what this conversation was. Nobody knows to this day what was said between these two people. So after that, the person pulls out a weapon, and they shoot Liz 3 times in the chest at point blank range, and then after she falls to the ground, they make sure that she is dead by shooting her again. So this person clearly was there to kill her. Like, that was their main goal. And it was planned out because, like I said, they were driving by before and all that. So after that, there were neighbors that heard this going on. They heard the shots, and so one of Liz's neighbors called 911, and they arrived fairly quickly after the call happened, and also the black truck returned to the scene of the crime at 6:55 a.m. and was caught by the Barraza Ring doorbell. So yeah, the police showed up about 3 minutes after the last sighting of the truck, and Liz was still alive when first responders got there, and she was transferred to the Memorial Herman Hospital, which is where she also volunteered and where she would go visit sick kids, which just makes it even more sad. And sadly, she was pretty So they talked to Sergio, clearly, because they always have to talk to the spouse or significant other first, and they also talked to some of Liz's family members and friends, and they were hoping that they could find something that could, piece things together, but none of the evidence really clearly pointed to any motive or suspect. And also, there was not a lot of evidence at the crime scene. There was basically none. There were no shell casings. And this led investigators to conclude that the murder weapon was a revolver. And it's just really unfortunate that, there's no forensic evidence. There's not really anything they can gain from speaking to close people who knew Liz in her life, and they were just kind of like hitting dead end after dead end. And that being said, really there has not been much of a, progression in this case. And there has been speculation on the part of investigators, probably to some extent, but mainly just people on the internet. And also the police were able to identify the vehicle as a 2013 or newer Nissan Frontier Pro 4X, and this was not a very common car in this area in Tomball, Texas, apparently. So that just kind of makes it even more weird that it's like, it's a kind of recognizable car. So, like I said, many people on the internet are speculating, and that's what people do. And many point their finger to the person who did this being Sergio, and not Sergio himself. Many people think that he hired someone to do this, or this could have been a woman that he was cheating on Liz with, but there was no evidence that either of them were cheating. Like, police looked into that and they didn't find any evidence of that, but people are kind of sus on Sergio because he did get remarried less than 2 years after Liz's death, but it's like everyone grieves differently, and you can't really be like, oh, you did this just because he got remarried. I know it looks a little bit weird. I don't think I personally could do that quickly. I mean, even though it's years, it's still like, that was your wife, I mean, but who knows? Like, we have no idea what the situation is, and so you can't really harshly judge the guy and claim he's the perpetrator to some extent, just because of that. So, but that's what people have kind of theorized. Many also think that the person who shot Liz was a woman because of the height of this person, and also because of the fact that it looked like they had long hair. And also some people think that they were dressed up in like Star Wars gear, like a Star Wars outfit, because of the white cloak. So others have theorized that it's like a person who was obsessed with her in some way, that was a part of the legion that her and Sergio were in, or something along those lines. But we still don't know for sure, and based off of the voice that you can hear in the video, it does sound more like a man's voice, but we don't know. There's really no way to know that. So that, unfortunately, really is all the information that is out there about this case, and it is so insane to me that there were so many witnesses to this happening, and I just really, really, really hope that one day this is solved. This is one of those cases that really sticks with me, because I just want to know so bad why this happened, because it just seemed like such a random, it was such a random act of violence. Like, why would someone do this to her? And I don't know, I'm not really sold completely that Sergio had something to do with it. My gut would usually lean that way, but it just seemed like he wasn't that type of person. But the timing is weird. I will say that the fact that they showed up so quickly after he left for work, that's really what makes me raise my eyebrow the most about Sergio. But we don't know. Nobody really knows what happened to Liz, and I setting up for this garage sale, you know, I'm sure she was like so excited to go on this trip, and it could have been such a wholesome day, but it turned into just a complete and utter nightmare. So, like I said, there's not really any more updates on this case as of now, but hopefully one day we can get closer to knowing the truth and solving this case once and for all, because, you know, it's one of those cases that just has a lot of evidence as far as visuals, but there's not a lot of forensic evidence there. So I will link all my sources in the description, as well as the different videos I mentioned, the guy breaking down the audio, and also I will link the Ring doorbell footage and the security camera footage. If you are sensitive to, you know, certain things, then like in the video you can hear the gunshots and you can hear Liz scream. So if it sounds like something that you don't want to hear, it is pretty disturbing, but you know, it's not. If you think it's just something you can't handle, then don't watch it, but I will link it just in case. So that is going to be all for this video. Thank you again to the person who suggested this, and I will see you in the next one.